Awesome, guys. I want to welcome you to another live Q&A. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with everyone. My name is Dan Diaz. I am your host, and this is School of Sharks. For those of you who are not familiar with what School of Sharks is, it's an awesome community where educators are brought together with a very simple idea. The idea is that not one person has the monopoly on solutions or ideas. So we want to bring educators together so that you can learn about all sorts of strategies when it comes to real estate investing, everything from fix and flip, BRRRR method, RVs, land development, owner financing. All of these strategies come together, and we hope that this platform is certainly advantageous to everyone. Now, if you guys find value in School of Sharks, please do me a favor and go ahead and share to your personal walls, and feel free to tag me as well as Bhaskar, Bettina, or Yogi. Any one of the Sharks, we're super happy when you guys do that. And as we go through the live Q&A today, if you have questions, put them in the comment section. We're going to do the best that we can to answer them as things kind of go along. So with that in mind, I want to go ahead and invite our guest for today. You may be familiar with him. Certainly, if you're in the real estate investing world in San Antonio, Texas, you should be aware of who he is. He's had over 10 years running a successful real estate business that began with buying foreclosures and flipping single-family homes. During his real estate career, he's built houses, refurnished commercial buildings, entitled and subdivided land, and became a self-taught curative title work expert while annually participating in several hundred real estate transactions. Today, he runs an office of about 15 that flip commercial real estate, branch land, wholesale, and invest in various other non-real estate related businesses. Guys, without further ado, it's my pleasure to bring Logan Fullmer to the main stage. How you doing, buddy? Good to have you.
Great, absolutely, Dan. It's always good to see you.
Oh, definitely. Now, I know I kind of gave the audience a little bit of an idea of your background, but I'd love for them to hear from you in a few moments. Who Logan is. Let's pretend nobody knows anything about you. How long have you been in real estate? And what's the focus that you enjoy the most?
Well, like I said earlier, I've been in real estate about 10 years now. I got into this. My mom was a realtor. My dad was a CPA. So I had a little bit of background in, the numbers, the money, the finance, and then, of course, the real property. So I kind of grew up around all that and always had an interest in architecture. So with that stuff kind of swirling around, I got out in the world in college or out in the world outside of college and tried to figure out how I was going to make a living after I got laid off from the oil field. And it worked out pretty well. The focus, again, that was about 10 years ago. So the focus, what was the question you just asked me after I tell me who I am?
Well, what area of real estate do you enjoy the most?
It's probably the deal. And it's funny, the first year or two, I was just trying to figure out how to make a buck. Like it was literally keep lights on, put some money in the savings, see if I can make something bigger than I have. And it was literally deal by deal. Every one was so important because sometimes it was the only deal I had at the moment. And now it's neat. Got an office running with multiple deals every single day. We get to look at it and say 10 different options we can do with it. So that's the fun part. I look at this and start to get creative and say, what am I going to do with this one? And that depends on what kind of deal is it? What's my experience look like? What's my capitalization look like at the time? And what does my business at the time need? Does it need the stability? Does it want an extra monthly payment from a note? Does it maybe want a little bit of future appreciation because the time in the market for some rentals? Do I want an influx of cash? So I just need to go dump that on MLS and take the money. So that's the fun part. It's this chess game now. Now that we're not trying to keep the lights on anymore.
I like that. So you're kind of sharing how you started, maybe just trying to figure out the rules of checkers. And then you got good at it, and you're like, "Hey, let's go buy a chessboard." And then you got good at it, and you're like, "Hey, let's go buy a chessboard making company. Why not?"
Fair, fair, right?
So let me ask you something. And again, considering that a lot of our audience is really just starting out, what would you say is your biggest strength, personal strength that you bring, that you expand, that you really anchor yourself with when it comes that you apply to real estate investing? What would you say is your biggest strength?
I'd probably say the wit, being sharp, being able to figure stuff out quickly. That's important. Whether you're a professional soccer player, the ball comes to you, you got to figure out what to do real quick. That's important. If you're a fireman, you got to figure out what the heck to do when you're going in this building that's falling down and people are getting burned up, or you need whatever. And today in the real estate business, something hits my desk, it's good. I might have an employee problem. We do a lot of litigation. So, I might have some blow up in a lawsuit right now that we got a curveball we didn't expect. You got to figure out how to solve major problems. And you got to think on your feet, and you really have to give it what you got. You got to focus. And I'm really thankful that I have that ability. It's made a huge difference.
Man, I love that, because being sharp and having the ability to be alert for what's coming your way is something that not only is needed in real estate, but I think it's something that a lot of people that migrate to business ownership and entrepreneurship naturally have it, but they might not necessarily develop it, as much as they should.
For the developing part, I think there are things we can consciously do. Now that I've had more time in this, and I'm not just trying to keep the lights on, I'm looking at all these different areas in life to try to tune up. And I got a ring that monitors my sleep and my blood pressure and all these things. So I can look at how good is my sleep doing. I'm tracking the amount of water I'm drinking every day. I do track my food and calories, the exercise, and I can really tell when I'm doing all that stuff, dude. It's
wow.
To me,
you're really, yeah. You can only grow what you measure, what you track. And you said something really, really important that I think sometimes is missed. And that's the fact that in order for you to grow in your business, you have to grow in your person. You have to grow physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and really augment that. And if you do that, then transferring to your business will work.
There's a saying that says, no man walks through the same stream twice, for it's not the same water and it's not the same man. And there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah, man, that's deep. So no man walks through the same stream twice, because either the water will be different and the man will not be the same.
Bingo. Yeah.
Oh man, I love that. You know what? Let's bring you off that cloud for a minute. Let's talk about weaknesses. What would you say, as you've evolved through your real estate investing career, what would you say is your most challenging weakness that either you've overcome or maybe you're still working on overcoming?
I'm super disorganized. I know I told you that I track stuff and I do that, but if you were to look at my desk, it's piled full of shit. My office is a train wreck. And I was talking to somebody yesterday about this, and it's kind of embarrassing, and I stopped trying to fix it because I know that I can't, and I just work a certain way. So that's that. But some days I wake up like it's Groundhog Day, man. I don't even know what happened yesterday. I don't know what's going on today. I know I look at my ring and I look at my app, and I got 8 hours of really good sleep last night, and I feel great. But I'm like, what am I doing today? I got to sit down and look at my to-do list, look on my calendar, and figure out what Tuesday is going to look like.
I believe you. Your office and your home has always been open to me and my wife, and I'm personally grateful for that. But I don't think I've ever been to your office and say, wow, this place looks really organized today, Logan. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We're working on it. We're working on it for sure. Let's talk about accomplishments for a minute. What accomplishments? And this can be personal, it can be business, it can be family, it can be in the community. But what accomplishments are you most proud of as a person?
I think this is something that young folks in real estate and career, or just young in life, can identify with, as well as folks that are a little bit on their way. I think I've kind of become the guy that I always wanted to be, or always thought I was capable of, or I knew what was in there. But you're not there, so you can't prove it, I guess, when you're young. So when I'm 20 years old, I was trying to grow up, figure out what was going on. I thought I was capable of success, and at that time I was entitled, which I shouldn't have been. That was the wrong place, but I knew it was in me, but I hadn't had success. And even into my right about 30 years old, I hadn't pieced much together, and I started to feel bad. I was like, man, I know I'm better than this. And right when I hit my 30s, man, stuff started clicking. And I started to build on that. And at this point, I can say, you know, I'm the man I thought I wanted to be to my family, to my friends, to those around me. I feel like I'm a good person. I built a really good business. I don't think there's people that can justifiably say really nasty things about me. There might be some people that say them about me, but it's not fair.
Justifiably is the key word.
Yeah, but I feel like I pieced all that together. And, you know, at 40 years old, you start to have a little different look on life than you did when you're 20. But it's neat because I remember when I was out there literally at the foreclosure auction buying some of my first, 10 deals, I'm trying to prove to myself, to the world, to my parents, I'm trying to prove to all these people that I'm good enough. So you're trying to get the business started, you're trying to get your personality going. Who am I? I want to establish that. And today I can say, yeah, that's worked out pretty good.
So you mentioned the foreclosure auction. For those who may be new to this world, if you're in Texas, tell everyone where they can go to see for themselves the foreclosures and how often does it happen?
Texas Tuesdays, every first Tuesday of the month, the deed of trust sales by trustees happen, and then the tax sales by the tax jurisdictions happen. You get your sheriff's sale and your trustee sale right there in the same yard down at the courthouse.
Yep. Every first Tuesday of the month, call it Texas Tuesday here in Texas. On average of 3, 4, 5, maybe 600 families get their homes foreclosed. It's a sad situation. Yeah. This is a personal kind of little mission of mine. I would love, and I don't know if you agree with me or not, I think you will, that it should be a mandatory field trip for all high school students before they graduate, that they go to 100 Dollar Rosa in Bexar County on the first Tuesday of the month and learn real world finance.
That's really interesting. I never thought of that before, but I would support it.
I've talked to so many people, especially that are near foreclosure. They're like, the bank won't take the house away from me. I'm like, are you kidding me? Dude. Go 2 Tuesdays from now and go to 100 Dollar Rosa, and there's going to be about 400 families there who are losing their homes. I really wish that would be like, I think if more kids saw it, and I don't mean little kids because it's a sad situation, but like teenage children, young adults. Hey, listen, this is for real. This can happen. Hopefully that would change their trajectory and life when it comes to finances. I don't know.
Good hope. I'm a personal believer in more education kind of stuff at school. I took an economics class when I was like a junior, senior in high school, maybe. They did a little one semester tiny economics class for us. I think we had a government class, but I don't know. I mean, history is important, but being able to figure out how you pay your damn bills and balance a checkbook and figuring out the basics. Kids graduate from high school and don't know what a balance sheet is. Read lit. I think that's bullshit.
Yeah. I
think that should be fixed. But my kids are getting taught all that stuff at home, so my kids won't be unarmed. There are a lot of kids that will be, and it's frustrating, but what you can do.
Yeah, for sure. Guys, if you have any questions, post them in the comment section. We're going to try to get to them as much as we can. We got a couple that we certainly want to touch base on. One of them is from one of our sharks himself, Bhaskar. What is one habit as a new entrepreneur should develop early on? What would you say is one habit that someone who is starting out should develop early on?
I mean, I know both of you guys pretty well now, and I would think both of y'all have it. I know I have it. I think it's sticking with it. It's staying right on top of it every day. And you say, what is it? Because I just told you how scattered I am. Some days I don't even know what I'm doing, but you know what I do know? I'm going to wake up and work an 8 to 12-hour day. I'm working really hard at doing a lot of things. And sometimes I'm not very focused, like I said. But if you're working really hard at a lot of stuff's going to happen. So I like stuff to happen. And when stuff happens, you make some money.
Yes. Sticking to it. Stick to it. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. I rarely am. I love Logan. Sometimes he is, but rarely is he always the smartest one in the room. But I'll tell you what, he sticks to it, and he sticks to it until he figures it out. He sticks to it until he figures it out, and that's super important. Working hard and growing as a person is absolutely vital. Guys, if you guys are getting value, from this live Q&A, please do me a favor right now and go and share to your personal wall and tag Logan and myself. I would love you long time if you do that. That helps the algorithm, and it helps more people get to get to be part of this live Q&A. It's really an honor, to spend some time with you guys, and we love your support. Question: when it comes to hiring, what are one or two qualities you absolutely must have in a potential new addition to the team? What is one or two qualities that you look for in them?
So there's three, but they're all very important. You got to have the IQ, the bandwidth. You got to have it up here. You got to be sharp. I care about that. Whether they went to college or not, that can say that they're good at certain things, but that ain't enough for me. Whether they got it or not, don't care. I want them to be bright. I want them to be sharp. They've got to have the interest. If you don't have interest to show up and just get excited about what you're doing and be interested in what you're doing every day, then who gives a shit? Even if you're smart, it doesn't really matter. And attitude. Duh, how to miss that attitude. I've had some of the brightest people work in my office and their attitude was terrible, and they ended up, I couldn't freaking deal with it because no one wants to deal with someone who's got an attitude. I want someone who come in as excited and fun, and if they want to get stuff done and the energy's good, things happen that way.
I like it. So to recap, got to be bright, got to be interested in the job and in the task, and you got to have a positive attitude. I like those things.
Attitude, man. I got some people that I work with that ain't very smart, man, but they are motivated and their attitude's great, and I'll deal with that.
Yeah, no, for sure. Attitude, a desirability to improve yourself certainly is is a big one. One of the things that I do require from my team to kind of gauge, where they're at is once a month, I want to hear what book they're reading. And it better not be the same one from last month. as a personal rule. It's like, bro, you've been on that brochure for 5 months. Can we move on? It's like that the booklet, Who Moved My Cheese?
Yeah.
I mean, it's but let's face it, it's a 2-hour read. Like, why are you still on it? That's something that I do. What book are you reading now? I want to know how you're developing yourself. Now, I know while we were preparing the interview, we were kind of chatting for a while, and I recall that you told me about a especially memorable deal that you did. Now, I don't know if you're comfortable sharing it with the audience, but I'd love for you, if you're okay, and how things kind of happened, and really what was it about it that created such a lasting memory in you. You want to go ahead and talk about that?
Which one did I bring up? Now I can't remember. Which one was it that I brought up? I can't remember.
So we were talking about a lot of different options and deals that you were kind of munching on, and I remember you talked about one where you're really happy the way the turnout kind of happened, and it had to do with the family. If you don't remember, that's okay. I don't want to mush on your deals.
No, tell me. I'll talk about it. I'm open. God, I can't remember.
It's all right. I remember it had to do with a land deal, and it had to do with a whole bunch of families that were not getting along very well, and you had to really kind of engineer the situation to negotiate with each individual person, and at the end of the day, everything just kind of worked out okay, but things were salvaged, in a way in which it kind of worked out. It'll come back to us. Don't.
Well, I will tell you the crazy part is we have more of those than you think. Orphaned estates or fractured ownership in Texas is a big thing. It's such an old state, and we have a lot of transactions that happened here from a long time ago. Folks came here and they've been doing deals since. So, you can have ownership, very, very old ownership in some of these cities, for example, San Antonio. So when that happens,
what are some of the problems that can happen? What are some of the problems that can happen?
The super common one is when, let's say, grandpa or great grandpa in the early 1900s bought a piece of property and passed away and didn't leave a will. And his 6 kids didn't have a will, and their 3 kids each didn't have a will. And now you got 30 kids, 40 kids that are owners. They're adults now. And 1 or 2 people have either lived on the property or paid taxes or kind of kept it afloat so it didn't get foreclosed on. The title's a train wreck. The vesting deed's back from 1909, and you've got, I don't know, We've done one of them. The most owners I've had so far is 65 owners, but it's very common to have 30 and 40 owners.
Wow. So that means you got to chase 30, 40, 50 signatures.
You do, and it can take a while. A lot of times, you'd be surprised, strangers and neighbors don't have that many problems with each other, but family seems to be close to each other as a result. They have problems. So you deal with that a lot of times. I'm not telling you, Johnny gets a nickel. Jenny used to beat me up until our 40s. I'm not her friend anymore. Just the craziest shit you'd ever imagine. And so we've got to really figure out how to divide and conquer that. Get people to trust us. We're buying this stuff cheap. You have to. There's no one in the world that'll buy this stuff for any more than 20 or 30 cents on the dollar. You got to go cheap because the risks are just tremendous. And you got to get over that hurdle too. Someone says, well, my share of this $100,000 house, 10%, it's worth 10 grand. I'm like, yeah, great. I'm going to give you 2 because no one's going to give you 10. No one's going to give you a 5. I'm the only idiot that'll actually give you above 0. So we have to overcome that. Then we have to figure out how to get folks to agree and work together. And we get some interesting stuff come out of that. I had a gal message me 2 weeks ago and said, remember when you said you got our whole family chart done, you're going to send it to me? I was like, oh my gosh, I completely forgot. You're right. I delivered this massive file to this lady. This chart was huge, dude. The property had 30 or so owners, but the family tree had probably 70 people in it because a bunch of them were dead. So it was a really interesting genealogy package that I turned over to her for free. It probably cost us, I bet we're in that thing for $10,000 in research fees.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And that one is still pending.
No, it's done.
Oh, it's done. You guys closed on it?
Yep. Deal's done. I'd never reached back out to give her that file, and she called me. I thought, this is great. Time. I had some
you probably helped her meet a few long lost cousins.
So we hear that. There's a specific property in San Antonio. The family loved us, man. The whole thing just worked out so great. No one is adversarial. We were so thankful. The transaction was so smooth. And at the end, we talked to them several months later, and they said, you know what? We had several new people that came to our family reunion because they found out about us through y'all through this. So it's kind of neat.
Oh, wow. That's very cool. Hey, listen, we got a question from Rich, and I think he's going back to the foreclosure comments that we talked a little while ago. Do you continue to go to the foreclosure sale, or you try to wrap the houses up under contract prior to? What's your favorite tool to research title and liens on properties?
So I went to the foreclosure auctions for a long time, and back in 2017 and 18, the pricing started to go up. We used to buy for about 50 cents on the dollar at the auction. Once it started getting 70 cents, 80 cents on the dollar, that was kind of my threshold where I was about done, because you might have title problems. You can't see in the house. You're buying it sight unseen a lot of times. But at that point, I thought, gosh, we still have to get good deals. And that's when we started looking at the pre-foreclosure list before folks would go to the auction. So we really started hitting that hard. And I'd take that foreclosure list in 2017, 16 even. I'd get several deals in a month. On a weekend, I'd go knock on these folks' door, boom, get a deal before the auction. But then everyone started doing that too. So that slowed down. We do get calls from realtors and a lot of referrals from brokers and attorneys right now. And it's a pre-foreclosure deal. So what we will do is I'll contract the property from the family. And as long as the price is right, we'll stop the auction. I can tell you there are a couple ways to do that. But we always try to get the house under contract before the auction if we make contact with the seller and they're amicable.
Yeah. So that really shows, Rich, a little bit of the evolution. I think buying at the foreclosure, it's kind of the easy button,
Heck yeah, we used to buy 3 houses for $100 grand in San Antonio, and that was the bomb. I would do that many months in a row. And it's not.
That was not last year.
No, I'll tell you.
So
5 years ago.
For those who are a little bit interested in kind of learning the process, and I'm sure Logan will agree, go ahead and Google your county name and then public records. So for example, I live in Bexar County, so does Logan. Bexar County public records. You'll usually find some sort of links that'll lead you to it. If you live in a major county, I'm going to share a screen with, if if I can, with the audience, where we can see here. Let me see if I can do this. If not, no, we won't be able to. So if you go on it, you're gonna see an actual map, which is pretty cool of Bear County.
Yeah,
And right now, I pulled up the map for the auctions, foreclosure, and tax foreclosures, and it looks like there's about 420 something addresses that are up for auction. Now, that doesn't mean that all of those are going to be sold. Some of them will be saved by the owners. Some of them will be scooped up by people like Logan and myself, and some will be pushed to the next month. But there is a way. I think what I really want to share with the group is there is a way. It's public information. It has to be public information. That's part of the law surrounding consumer protection. They have to make publicly available that this is happening so that the homeowner cannot say, I never heard about it. So take advantage of the fact that it has to be by law public information. These things are happening, and if that's something that you kind of want to investigate and move forward, definitely go ahead and do that. Ray's got
I would encourage folks. Let me run back real quick. Rich, I use the land records. There's an online search portal through Bear County. That's where we do our title work. Each county has their own set of land records. Most of them are available online now, but some of them you actually have to go to the courthouse for records, maybe older than 1980 or whatever. It's case by case. But I would encourage folks to look at those foreclosure deals, things that are delinquent on taxes and in or near foreclosure. Those are always better deals because they do need to be dealt with.
What I really like about pre-foreclosures is that there's kind of a date.
There's urgency
that has to happen.
Yeah.
Most distressed homeowner situations, it's kind of like, all right, bro, you really should do something about your property. But there isn't a date. There isn't an imminent date where it's like the world will fall apart for you on this date, on this hour, if you don't do anything. So that's kind
now
of
some folks look at you and say, oh my gosh, you're a vulture, you're a shark that's so aggressive. But from another perspective that some folks don't consider is when a person can't make their house obligation for a year and a half, 18 months, they haven't made that payment. They're behind on other bills. Their life needs to move on. The lender needs to get their money performing again. Life has to straighten out. And the good thing about that date is it causes the borrower to go move in with their cousin, go get a new job, take the kids with you, find a new set of schools. It causes them to start over and get going again. And it does the same thing for the bank's money, and it gives an opportunity for somebody. So while it's frustrating, someone has to lose their house. If it's been that long, it's time.
Yeah, it absolutely is. We got a question from a Facebook user. We don't know who you are. Thank you for participating, though. We're using a service called Streamyard, so you need to give permission to Streamyard. It's on the post how you can do that. But you got a real great question. It says, I'm interested in some of your stories where you bought interests in probates and dealt with unresolved estates prior to completion. Are you open to sharing how you're able to do that? And what's your exit strategies with those complex deals where you end up owning 2% of like 1 million acres?
Right. Those, they're also different. Sometimes I usually find that the tough person in the family kind of is the last man standing there. So the nice folks in the family are the first ones to deal with you, and they're the first ones that have gotten kind of pushed around by the other part of the family. So you have to work through those family differences. A lot of times the families aren't solving this on their own. They've just given up. And if you're a professional that has something to gain from it, then you're probably willing to commit more. You're willing to be more studious. You're willing to hire professionals, attorneys, private investigators, genealogists to help you do it. So you do offer a good service to these folks. The question is, how are you going to decide how to balance that in terms of how much you're going to make, how much you're going to pay them, there are things like that. But it takes a lot of experience. I wouldn't recommend anybody to try that on their own. I've got 4 attorneys that work with me. And I've spent 10 years figuring out how to do real estate, which has allowed me to understand the mechanics of real estate. So when a person in one of those unresolved estates is asking me a question, I don't have to call the lawyer at that point. I can say with 95% certainty, this is what happens, this is what it means, this is what's got to happen or should happen, and can offer solves along the way to get there. But when you're starting out, you've got to hire an attorney, and it's going to be expensive, and you're going to want to pay them so they answer your calls first time when you're sitting at someone's house trying to figure something out. The first couple I did were long and slow, and they just took a lot of mistakes. And once I worked through a couple of them, I thought, yeah, I can work these out, but you got to be patient. You got to spend money for help. And one thing I told somebody yesterday, actually, in fact, about this is real estate investors like things cheap, easy, and fast.
Not always.
We all do. But in this case, these type of deals are slow, hard, and from a practitioner standpoint, like a solver standpoint, they're expensive because the professionals you have to hire have to know what they're doing. So they're the opposite.
And there's no hard money lender out there to pay the attorneys, right?
And lenders won't lend on this because title won't insure undivided interest when you're buying a property 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10% at a time. Yep. So these have to be done with cash. You can't use debt.
Yep. And it's and it can be a long battle. Is there anything that you can do? Let's just talk hypothetical situation. 100 acres. You acquire 10%. Is there anything that you can do to somehow capitalize? Can you use 10% of the land?
You can use it all.
That's what I'm saying. What can you do to help recoup some of those expenses, if anything?
So once you become an owner, you're an owner. So everyone has equal rights. If you own 10% of 100 acres, you don't have a right to 10 acres. You have a 10% right to the entire property. So you can use all of those 100 acres. You own 10% of all 100. So how does
that actually work? Let's say you decide to grow hay, and you generate $100,000, in the first year. Does that mean that you only have the rights to 10% of that income, or how does that work?
So when you're running a business on it, it starts to get more complicated because now you have costs and all these things. A simple way to put it would be, we all own this property. We can all go hunt on it. We all have to get along, because if one person wants to use it for plant hunting and one person wants to use it for cultivating, now you have a problem. So the property code makes provisions for co-tenants paying their own share of the taxes, maintaining the property. If it needs a new gate, we all have to split that up fairly, things like that. But the land use laws don't really have any precedence for who gets to do what over the others. So that's where, let's say, for example, no one's been paying the tax for 10 years. It's about to go to tax sale, and I buy 10% share from one heir, and I go and pay, or one co-tenant. They might have bought it as a business together, and they're co-tenants, or they might have inherited it. However, they've acquired title. But I'll go pay off 100% of the taxes, so it doesn't go to the sale. And those other tenants owe me 90% of the tax payment that I made, because I only owed the 10%. So I do ask them to repay me. And sometimes they don't. So sometimes you start to have negotiations there.
It's like, well, how you to your portion of the property?
I've got friends that hunt on 1,000-acre tracts that they bought a deed with 2 or 3% of the land.
Wow.
That's the cheapest hunt and lease they ever got. But they have the
right to that land. Bro, we need to do a course just on that. What's the cheapest way to get hunting rights in Texas? Go get yourself 2% right.
That's right.
That's very cool.
So those are complicated deals. The guy here, the Facebook user, asked about what their exit strategies are. You can't even go there. You have to get, the exit strategy is getting clear and whole title. Once you have that, you can do whatever you want. You can sell it, make a couple bucks. You can rent it. You can sell it on a note, whatever. But you got to get all of it, and you got to get good title.
Is there anything that you can do? Let's say you acquire 51% control. 51% control. Can you then now force an exit? For example, I'll give you an example. Let's say that, can you put it for sale and keep 51% of the revenue and force the distribution of the other 49%? I mean, is there anything that you can do to force a situation once you have controlling interest?
So controlling interest in a business would be governed by the organizational documents, and you may be able to get a vote. You may be able to control what happens. The real estate laws don't work like that in Texas. The property code says a little bit differently. I might have 51%, or I might have 0.00051%, just a tiny little sliver that you can hardly even see. but you still have the same rights to the real estate. So if I want to sell mine, section 23 of the property code is partition of real property. If I have a little sliver or a big piece, I don't have to have any majority. I have the right to my equity. And if no one else agrees, I can file section 23 cause of action, and the judge will, it's an absolute right. And it's not protected by homestead either. So if a person that owns 6% is living on that property, he can't get homestead rights and prevent that sale outside of a probate jurisdiction. In the regular civil courts, a judge will order it. It's an absolute right in Texas, and there's no way to stop that. Now, the property code was amended with the Uniform Partition and Heirs Property Act in 2018, 19 as it was, which caused a subsection, section 23A, to be created. And that's partition of real property of an heir. So it's heirs property. So that adds a little bit to the due process there. It makes it a little bit longer, but the absolute right to partition is still there, whether you have this much or that much.
Wow. Wow. So there's definitely things that you can do to exit from it, so to speak, or to capitalize on it. Even if you got a stick in the mud that's unwilling. Guys, this is absolute gems. I don't know how much Logan charges if he were to do any consultation, but I promise you it ain't gonna be cheap. So if you guys are getting value, do me a favor now, like, comment, and share to your personal walls. Do me a favor and tag myself as well as Logan. We love to hear from you, and we love for more people to kind of be exposed to this. Got a question. I would imagine you work a lot of hours. What do you do to create and maintain work-life balance? I hate that word.
So what that means to, let me tell you what that means to me more than what I do to create a balance. Early on, I would read all these books, listen to podcasts, and look at all these successful people talk about work-life balance and what they do. And I would struggle to make that. Do you create a schedule? Do you block days off? How do you do that? And I started to realize that that was not a thing for me. Our work-life balance is all day, nonstop. I have a family, I have a job, and I have a strong relationship with the people that I work with. And I'm doing all that all the time. We're dropping kids off in the middle of the day, running back to the office to go to 3 or 4 meetings. I'll come home early one afternoon. Me and my wife will go out to lunch. Our life is our business, is our family, and it's all jumbled up in one big pile of stuff. And there ain't no true balance. We're doing it all. We're doing it all together. So my kids get to learn what it looks like when I'm in a meeting, because they go to them with me sometimes. I get to go to their school with one of my business partners and go watch them do a play in the afternoon. Like, this whole thing is really a big balled up thing.
Yeah. I agree.
So there ain't no balance. It's just all here.
I agree. Balance is making sure someone doesn't fall off the seesaw. That's the balance. I think that term work-life balance was probably made up by, some crazy book-selling guru in the late 1970s, and it was pitched to the American life that was working 9 to 5. It does not work in the business world. If
somebody made a bunch of money selling that book, and I don't know what it did. It might have helped some people, but not me.
Yeah, no, not me. And I think the reason a lot of people focus on it is because they're not getting true satisfaction from their work. People like Logan, people like myself, we love what we do. So that is our balance. So our balance, lots of times, it's including our family and the things that bring us absolute passion.
That's a good point. My wife started a business recently. And man, I love my wife. We have a lot of things in common. We have a lot of things that are not in common, but such a neat thing. And we do the real estate stuff together, but it's a little different, man. Her business is in the fashion industry, and my business is business. I like the financials. I like the business models. I like figuring out how to get sales, how to get inventory, how to balance that, how to find your market. So I get to come home and talk to my wife about business. Most guys come home and talk to their wife about something at work, and their wife's like, quit. I come home, my wife is ready to talk for 2 hours about her business, and she's gonna tell me all the stuff that happened that day and what she figured out. And I'm like, give it to me, baby. Like, this is it. So that's a really cool thing that we have in common.
And the conversation can flow. She can ask, hey, did you ever close on that deal? Did that wire go through? Mama needs some shoes. So it's nice. Yeah. It's really, really good. Logan, Where's your social media? I guess when you get a chance, just go ahead and plug it on the comments. Also, obviously on the post, you're going to go ahead and find his social media. I think he's like a super celebrity, so he might have maxed out his 5,000 people situation, but he's a good friend of the group, so he's available here often. Regarding small business or medium small business situation, what would you say are some of the do's and don'ts when it comes to business training, structuring, operating, sustaining, and scaling? Man, that's a lot of questions, but some basic, maybe 2 or 3 do's and don'ts when it comes to small, medium business.
Dude, I have to say it's the trenches. That's where the business training is. I went to business school. That's what my major is in college. And I don't know. I mean, I think the accounting and the finance classes taught me the most academics that I use day-to-day business, but everything else is based on feel. So I'd really get out there and feel through it. And I think if you're bright and you care, and just like the things I look for in an employee, if you work hard, if you're bright and you care and you're interested in all those things, you start to see the openings. You see the holes in the offensive line. Like, you see opportunities. You find things that don't work and you fix them. And, Bhaskar asked that question. So he and I have talked about hiring before. And I told him my philosophy on hiring has changed dramatically in the last 12 months. I'm paying people as much I can possibly afford to pay them. I mean, I'm giving them, I got somebody that's going on a paid vacation. They're going overseas for 3 weeks to see a family member. I said, take your computer with you. I'm sure you're going to want to answer a few emails, but you're getting paid while you go. Most people would say, hell no, this was not planned. This was surprise. A family member's sick. And we give people those kind of opportunities because no other employer will do it. I can get the best dang people I can possibly get. They'll be incredibly loyal. And these people give back to me stuff that I can't get from very many people.
Yeah.
So working through all those little pieces along the way, you just start to look at it and say, what can I give? What can I get? And that happens with all your little pieces in your business. But the key is you're paying attention and you really care and you're really thinking about it. And that's where the solves come from for me.
I like that. I like that for sure. Hey, listen, I know that we asked you to be with us for no more than an hour. I know you've got a 4:00 meeting later on to go to, but there's 2 things that I really want to touch base in our live Q&A, if that's okay. And one of those really has to do with, think about someone who is starting out, maybe yourself when you were starting out. And I want you to think of the guiding forces that helped your general direction. What words of wisdom would you share with someone who is maybe starting out? Maybe they still have a full-time job. Maybe they've done 1 or 2 deals or maybe no deals at all, but would really help them in the general direction that they're going.
Man, that's a great one. And the first thing that instantly comes to mind is don't quit the job early. I've had several folks in the last year or two with this conversation. They come and ask me about it. I'm making money in this business, or this is going well. I'm ready to quit my job. And I always tell people, don't quit your job for 6 months or a year after you think you should. And I know that's the risk averse place to be. And there's some people that, go for broke, and that ain't me. I mean, I like to manage my risk. I like to be careful. So I kept my job until they fired me. They had to lay me off to get me out of that damn place. But I was making good money. And I was running this real estate business and it was starting to happen. So don't quit early. That stability of your income, you don't realize how hard it is until you're out there trying to pay the bills by deal, man. It's a whole different ballgame. Now, once you get past that phase, it's like breathing air. It's no big deal. But that first, you've been there.
Yeah. I have to agree with that because for sure, one of the byproducts of having a job is that it sucks up your time. And I know that might not sound like a benefit, but it kind of forces you, okay, I only have 2, 3, 4 hours left in the day. What is the most that I can do with that little time? So I remember when I had a full-time job, I tell people that I didn't have a 9 to 5. I had a 5 to 9, which sucked. But it really, because I only had such a small window of available time, it kind of forced you to maximize and really think about, okay, what am I going to do in these next 2 hours? What am I going to do in this next hour? Because that's all I got.
Dude, you
I got to go
built
to
a whole
bed.
business in 4 hours a day. After your regular job, you built a whole damn business on 4 or 5 hours a day. Like, dude, that's pretty special.
Yeah.
That's whatever.
So then when you do quit, you kind of already started the habits and the skill sets of maximizing time, you know, and those little building blocks. So I don't, that's a great point. Don't quit your job too soon. Don't quit your job too soon. I think I quit mine a little early.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was working like 80 hours. I was working like literally I ran out of time, you know, in the week. So for
like,
me, it was
I ain't got time for this no more. I gotta go.
Yeah. I mean, and I started feeling bad that like in my office, like at work, I was doing deals. I was researching properties.
Yep.
I was calling sellers. And I'm like, I mean, I get it. I'm on salary, you know, so I got a leg to stand on. I'm producing, but at the same time, it's it was.
Of course.
But I agree. I think I did quit a little sooner than it could have, and I think I would have learned more by staying. So
it worked out for you though, and you might have picked up the deals quicker. I realized that I could have quit sooner, but for me, it was great to have that income continuing. You know, something else that I would really encourage folks to pay attention to is 80% of the hype they hear out here as a young entrepreneur or a budding business owner is not true. It's hype. There's a lot of hype, folks. Everything that people tell you, they exaggerate. Maybe if they're not big time liars, they're just a regular person, they exaggerate by 5. The honest people exaggerate by 5%. The people that are full of BS are exaggerating by hundreds of percents. So when you're working in that job, doing your side deals, watching this guy on YouTube who's talking to you about, he bought 10,000 houses this year, like, be careful, man, because there are times where I bought into some of that BS and I got out there and realized I'm doing exactly what this other person's doing, and what's happening for them is not happening for me. And I would really dig. I'd do research. I'd call people that knew them, and I would find out that those answers or the things they're talking about aren't really true, but it's helping them get a lot of other things out of their business that the promotion does for them. So don't believe a lot of that stuff. You really have to figure out what the honest, right, truthful things are actually happening with those people and what's happening with you, because your story ain't gonna look the same as theirs. So you have to kind of sort through that on your own. You got to have that confidence along the way when you're young and new in the business, and that's tough.
Yeah, that's real stuff. Weeding through the lies and the exaggerations and the show, you know, the show for sure. Let's narrow this down. What practical advice would you give someone who's starting out? So not mindset, you know, not leading direction, but what is some practical 1, 2, 3 or ABC or do this, do that can help them catapult their business?
You know, this is really easy. I already know what it is. I'm trying to figure out how to say it easily. But whatever the heck it is you're trying to do, if you're trying to start a car business, if you're trying to start real estate, I specifically would say real estate because that's where we're at here, but map out 50% of your week for lead gen. Spend your time doing that. Today, I'm running 10 businesses, all these different companies, all different kinds of industries. My core focus is still real estate, but I got a lot going on. And when I go into my office in the morning, I told you it's Groundhog Day. I don't have a clue what's happening. I look at the companies and say, whose company needs the money the most? Who needs liquidity? Who needs activity? Who needs a push? I look at all those companies, and the one that needs it the most, I say, how am I going to affect revenue? And I go help them sell a couple things. I go help them find a couple leads they need right now. Or if they need a cheaper product, I help them go find that cheap product right now so they could sell it. That's basically lead gen. I'm looking, where's my money? Grant Cardone says it. Where's my money, people? Where's my money? I want to go find that money. And if you spend half of your week doing lead gen, as an owner, I'm not always doing that. And that's not always my role anymore. But I still spend 50% of my time driving revenue somewhere. The newbies, if you will go spend time lead gen, getting on the phone, calling the dickens out of people that can bring you referrals, sellers, man, get on the phone. Don't even know who to call. Get on the phone with somebody in your business, in the industry. Get on the phone.
I love it. I love it. I have a phrase in the morning when I wake up. I'm like, who's got my money? Somebody has
got my
my
money.
money. And then I kind of break down my day into, and it's almost like a fun game. And I know you're going to agree with me, Logan. Sometimes I'll play like, okay, how quickly can I get money? It might only be like $10, but
Can I
how
get some
quickly
money?
can I get money?
Right.
And then what's the biggest jump? If I've got a deal that maybe is, $150,000, $200,000 that I know can generate, but it's 6 months
You
away.
convert
What's
right
the
now.
most that I can, what's the most compression of time that I can do today to give me my money? And I spend time, who owes me money? Because that's what they're like, who owes me money? Oh man, you owe me money. You're gonna get a call from me.
You're at the top of the list.
Yeah, because it's usually the quickest one.
Right
I'll get
before
on
we
the
did
phone.
this.
I'll get on the phone on my Cash App, Venmo, Zelle. I'll send you a receipt. I don't care. I need money now.
We have a very, very expensive property. It's a wholesale deal in Austin. We bought it for $1.4 million. We're selling it for 2.4. So it's a huge wholesale deal.
Nice.
And it's expensive, even though it's a land deal. It's got duplexes on it, but it is a land deal. So it's a developer product. Even though it's in one of the hottest zip codes in Austin, and Austin is one of the hottest real estate markets in the United States right now, it's still $2.4 million. So if you're selling a $400,000 or $600,000 wholesale deal, you have a lot more buyers. When you're talking a $2.4 million developer deal, the buyer pool just shrunk. Even though it's the hottest stuff you can get right now, it's still a smaller pool. So I spent half of my morning looking up the brokers that have brokered land deals in that zip code in the last 6 months, blasting them personal emails, calling them. I mean, I'm the owner of all these businesses, and I'm doing what it's going to take to drive revenue right there because I think I can close like a son of a gun, and I think I got a lot of drive, and I think I really work, and that's how I can affect it. And I'm doing that today.
I love it. I love it.
Now, let me say this. If I didn't do that and I would sit back and let my wife as our agent or the listing do its work or some dispo people in our office try to push it, it would still happen. But it might happen in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And I want it to happen right now.
Now, who's got my money today?
My money. So that's the money I'm chasing right now. Who's got my money? We have 4 wholesale deals that total $3.4 million. I've got 12 wholesale deals in dispo right now. I'm working to vacate a demolition lead in Baytown on one of our wholesale deals. So I'm trying to get that resolved with the city attorney. I'm negotiating the sale of a 25,000 square foot warehouse I've had. I've owned it for a year and a half, and it's time to sell it. I'm going through the final construction drawings for my new office. I'm closing out the sale of my current office. I'm going to lease it back for a year while we're finishing construction. And then I'm in the middle of brokering a note package. It's $1.2 million in notes we made over the years. We're getting ready to sell them. So those are all the where's my money's. That's this week. That's my priorities right there.
Love it. Love it. Love it, man. Hey, do me a favor. Once we finish the live Q&A, go ahead and put it on the comments. This eventually gets disseminated, pretty out there. So either in the post or in the comments, just real quick, got this. I mean, who knows? It might not be available next week, but that can certainly, push drive. Logan, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be here. Guys, again, if you got value from today's live Q&A, do me a favor and go ahead and share this to your personal walls. Tag me as well as Logan. It'll be super, super exciting, to see that. We want to thank everyone for being here. And the only words of wisdom that I have for everyone is be consistent. Make sure you feed your soul on a daily basis and try to figure out who's got my money. Fair enough? You guys have a great one. Say bye to the audience, Logan.
Dan, thanks so much for having me. It's always a pleasure, and I always enjoy it. Got a lot of respect for you, so thank you so much, and appreciate it to all the sharks out there for letting me be here today.
Awesome. You guys have a great one. Take care. We'll see y'all.